Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for July 31. Last week, between July 23rd and July 26th, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, came to the Washington, D.C. area to address the joint session of Congress and visit with the current administration. He was accompanied by his wife Sarah and a delegation of officials, military heroes, and victims of October 7. During this visit, I was blessed with several invitations, the first for July 23rd, a private briefing with several Christians at the Watergate Hotel. To read the full press release, visit the following link. On July 24th, the Family Research Council offices located between the White House and the Capitol building hosted a live watch party of Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress. Israel 365 and In Grace with Jim Scudder co-sponsored the event. For the full In Grace episode of the day of July 24th, visit In Grace's YouTube channel. To view or read the entirety of the Netanyahu speech, visit the Times of Israel link here. On July 25th, members of the delegation joined several Christians near the Israeli embassy for a small, intimate luncheon. This off-the-record visit included many of the people you saw in chambers during the speech. This meeting touched my heart in a way that cannot be explained. To look into the eyes, hold hands, and hug these brave Israelis whose pain is still festering, not only because of their still-to-be-processed experiences, but because of the hostages who remain in captivity. Words are not enough. Please continue to pray for Israel and her people. Bring them home. Let them go. The following video is what I'm allowed to share with you. All the relevant links will be in our text blog article. Thank you.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael.
Boykin not only serves as FRC's Executive Vice President, but in a brief survey of his background, I'll make a few comments. He was a founding member of the Delta Force, and in his long distinguished military career not only served in key operational assignments for the United States military, but at one point oversaw the Green Berets within the U.S. Army, and went on to serve in the Department of Defense as well. In addition to his storied background, I will observe for us today not only his professional background in relation to his stance with the Jewish people and with Israel, but his heart for the Jewish people and for Israel as well. And I believe that will come through today as you hear from a man who not only has the expertise to speak to how we should be viewing these events, but has been appointed by God to give a message for the times we are in relation to Israel and the Jewish people. So again, I just want you to know on behalf of Family Research Council that we will continue to stand against anti-Semitism, whether it's from the right or the left. This is a matter of righteousness. It's not welcome here. We will stand against it, and we will stand with the Jewish people. And with that, General, we're very glad that you're here today.
What'd you think of BB's speech?
Airborne, sir.
I told Lindsay as we were sitting there watching it, he had the anointing on him today. He had God's hand upon him, just like Donald Trump did a few days ago. He had the God's hand on him, but I will be brief here. Let me just ask a question for those of you, our visitors here. Do any of you know the name Amir Maital?
Yes.
You know who he is? Was? I'll come back to this and tell you why. Let me be upfront with you. My children, and they're very proud of this, by the way, all three of them are 25% Ashkenazi. And we raised them to be proud of the fact that they were Jewish, because their mother, who had grown up in Connecticut, was forced to live under a different name. Her father changed his name to Cameron as he went off to World War II because he didn't want to go over there with a Jewish name. And when we got married, she was not Lynn Cameron. She had a different name, and I'm not going to say what it was, but she had a different name there. And but when she gave birth to 3 children, it made them 1/4 Ashkenazi, perfectly 1/4. And they took that because they want the right to make Aliyah when they finish their careers, and they'd at least like to be able to know that that's an option for them to make Aliyah. 36 and a half years in the Army, 13 of that in the Delta Force. In 1989, I lived in Akko with the Golani Brigade. And you'll see if you read my book, my autobiography, there's me with Amir Maital standing there in Israeli uniforms. I had to wear an Israeli uniform, and all of my men had to wear Israeli uniforms, so that we kept a very low profile. And Amir would take me out on the weekends. He was the commander of the recon company there, their special forces. And he would take me out and drive me all over and show me the land. He wanted me to feel the land. He wanted me to feel like I was part of the land, because that's what Jews do. And I saw places that tourists don't see as I traveled with him, but I fell in love with that man. And I don't mean that in any kind of hinky way. I mean, I really fell in love with him. He became my brother. And when I left and came home, he would come to America and stay with me. And I would do the same for him to reciprocate. And I'd take him around and show him things that he needed to know. And we loved each other. We really loved each other. He was my brother. We were warriors. And I was laying in a hammock in Central America. And my radio operator came over and handed me the phone. We were in the jungle there. He came over and handed me the phone and said, "The general wants to talk to you." And I said, "What's up, boss?" And he said, "Jerry, I hate to tell you this, but Amir Maital was killed last night on a raid into South Lebanon. He ran right into a Hezbollah outpost. They shot him in the head. His executive officer dragged him back to the helicopter landing zone where they got him out. When I got home, I went to see his parents, and it was Shabbat. I went to see him when I got back from Central America, and we wept together, but they were tears because we all loved Amir. And we all knew that our lives were going to be different because he was gone. But let me tell you something. It put in me something that I can't explain to you, that I don't understand myself, and that is my love for the Jewish people, my love for the state of Israel. And I went back many more times, even after he was dead. I went back many more times and worked with the Golani Brigade and with other elements there. But it's a love that I cannot understand. I cannot describe it for you. And part of it is because of my children. And the one thing that I wanted to do while I was there with Amir was I wanted to go to Masada. And I wanted to see that ceremony. He died before we could get up there. So I went after he was dead. And I don't think I've ever seen anything in the U.S. military to compare to it. When all of those new officers stood up there just as the sun came up over the horizon, and there was not a sound being made, and the rabbi came out and began to speak to them in Hebrew, and they began to file out one at a time over to this side where they got the Torah. Why? Why the left side? Closest to the heart. And they made the swing around to this side over here and got their M16 rifle. And they all came back and they lined up. And then the rabbi said, repeat after me. Masada will never fall again. Masada will never fall again. Say it with me. Masada will never fall again. Masada will never fall again. Friends, Bibi's right. They're going to win. They're going to win this because God promised in His Word that once they're restored to their land, they will never be run out of that land. They're going to win this. And as I said to some of our senior leaders today, and I don't want to shock you. I really am not trying to shock you, but this is the way I've been praying for the last month and a half. When Joshua started to cross that river, God said to him what? He said, kill them all. Bibi said that when this first happened. We've got to wipe them out. We've got to annihilate them. And America has to give them the material that they need to be able to annihilate them. So Masada will never fall again, but we've got to do all we can to eradicate those people, because if you don't, in 5 years, they'll have another one of these. They will rebuild, because that's what they do. They are demonic. They're straight out of the pits of hell as far as I am concerned. And we need to recognize this, and they have no redeeming qualities. Spare the women and children. But we've got to wipe them out so that they're never going to be a problem again. God bless you all, and God bless Israel.
Amen. Conversation, visibly being a proud Israeli, a proud Jew, can be a little scary at times, but I'm happy I'm here. So, my name is Leyb, and first and foremost, I'm a Jew. I'm an Israeli, I'm a Canadian, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a reservist, I'm all these other things, but inside, first, I'm a Jew. And on October 7th, I was living in New York, running my startup. On October 6th, actually, I was walking back from a Shabbat dinner, and I got all these text messages that something is going on in Israel. And I opened my phone, and I see that there was this music festival that was being interrupted. People were being killed. I received messages from my friends. There was an army group that we have on WhatsApp, and my friend is saying, guys, what do? I'm on a kibbutz in the south, and there's a terrorist outside of my window. Do I go and do I shoot him?
Yes.
Or do I pick my family who was inside the bomb shelter? October 7th started off with one of my teammates going to one of the kibbutzim with his girlfriend to go and protect the Jewish people because there was an attack there. But unfortunately, he didn't make it into the gate of the kibbutz because he was shot point blank by a Hamas terrorist. And so I'm in New York, it's October 7th, and the first thing I do is I buy a ticket to Israel. And I was lucky enough to get on the first plane. And on the evening of October 7th, they flew to Israel, and the next day, I was with my unit on base. And we didn't know what to train for. Gaza, the North, the West Bank, so we trained, and I documented my journey on Instagram, started to get a few followers here and there. And over the next 4 months, my unit was the first reserve duty commando unit to go into Gaza. We went in 5 times and saw things that you don't usually see on your day-to-day. I won't tell you all the stories, but one story that stuck with me is that we got intelligence in one of the houses that there was terrorist activity there. So we go inside and we're clearing the different rooms, and I get to this room with pink walls. And I start opening the drawers and I see that it belongs to a little girl, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old. I see the dolls, I see the books, and I'm asking myself, what on earth am I doing in Israeli reservists searching the room of a 7-year-old girl? And I turn around and I see something that shocked me. I see posters of Palestinian terrorists who committed attacks on Israelis and are currently sitting in Israeli jail. And then I understood how deep the generational hate is towards the Jewish people and the Israelis in Gaza. I was released in January, and I couldn't go back to normal life. I couldn't be like my friends who went on vacation and back to their families. I came back to America and fight the fight that you guys are fighting, the fight against anti-Semitism. I went around North America and I spoke to over 50 communities, thousands of people, telling my story, both Jewish and non-Jewish, of what's really going on. I wasn't really accepted everywhere, but I still stood my ground. And I did that until I had to go back to the Lebanon border, which I just came from. I was released from there about a week ago. And Hezbollah is a different monster than Hamas is. You know, Hamas, we felt them when we were in Gaza. They were everywhere, but Hezbollah is much more advanced. During the first week that we were on the northern border, our base was attacked. My friend is still in the hospital in critical condition. And I was released about a week ago. Officially released a couple days ago. First thing I do, come to DC and fight for the Jewish people. And I realized that I can't go back to my startup. I can't go back to normal life. I'm dying to go back to tech and live a normal 9-to-5 job, but seeing what's going on here in America, around the world, seeing the things I was told today in Capitol Hill by all these Palestinians, anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish, anti-Christian people, it blew my mind. And I've decided right now for the next part of my life to focus on fighting anti-Semitism and fighting this fight that it's so justified. People around here are brainwashed. They hate Jews. They hate Christians too. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm planning it out right now. I'm going to continue on doing this. If you guys are going to be at the Christians United for Israel conference on Sunday, I'll be there too, to create relationships. And before I finish, Israelis don't truly understand what's going on here. We have other problems. We have Hamas, we have Fatah, we have all the terrorists in our country. We don't really know. They don't really know what's going on here and what's outside. You know, wearing this shirt, walking through the Palestinian protest is kind of like a death wish. But to see all of you join together here, taking the time out of your day to watch the speech, to listen to each other, and to stand for something that we so need, really is the best thing I've seen in a very long time. It shows me that there are people out there who are allies, not just our enemies, and there are partners in peace. So thank you, every single one of you, for being here, and hopefully we can see a peaceful future soon.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai.
Please join me in continuing to meditate on God's holy word, His instructions, His promises, His covenants, timeless and eternal, with Israel and the Jewish people. Please also pray for Israel in the variety of ways that are necessary, including its leadership, its citizens, its security forces, and its rescue efforts. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Israel,